So a big thank you to Enrique and the sanitation staff for hosting us today. I work with Los Angeles City Councilmember Paul Koretz, and I'm going to give a little more context to the discussion. We've probably seen the politically quite effective video of the turtle with the straw up its nose. So I'm going to come at plastic pollution from a little bit different perspective. This here is the Skirball Fire, which was in Council District 5 a couple years ago. A fire that, except for some lucky wind and an exceptionally effective fire department, would have burned down Bel Air, which is, as you may know, the most expensive homes on Earth and our constituents. We know that climate change didn't cause the Skirball Fire or the Woolsey Fire or the Thomas Fire or the Saddle Ridge Fire or any of the others. But like so many of the other enormous fires that have been going on in California, it's making them much, much worse. LA Fire Chief Terrazas said about the Skirball Fire that those were the driest atmospheric conditions he had ever faced in 30 years of firefighting. I think most of us have been tracking what's been going on in Australia and South America and the Amazon rainforest. But the creepy thing is, if you start to look at the global fires, we haven't been hearing about Angola. The heart of Africa has been on fire for several years, and Siberia and Indonesia. Basically everywhere that has major forests left is critically dry and burning down. And bigger picture, even if we could live without our forests, we actually need to eat. So it doesn't matter how many millions or billions of dollars you have, if you can't grow food, your planet is on fire as well. So we've heard a lot of questions the last few years about why the climate impacts seem to be happening all of a sudden much more quickly. And this is my completely unscientific explanation of why. The chart on the screen is an exponential growth curve, and they use it, for instance, to describe technology adoption, like with the adoption of cell phones. It starts slow, but then bang, everybody has one. After the fact, exponential growth curves look relatively smooth, but when you're in the midst of them, they seem like they're divided into two stages, gradual and sudden. The Singularity University calls this the deception of linear versus exponential growth. So when you hit the you are here point is when things seem to accelerate into suddenly. If you add in the relevant global warming graph, you'll see where I'm going. The climate disruptions seem like they're coming all at once because they are coming all at once. Because we are much higher on the curve than we as a society believe we are. And that includes, unfortunately, the scientists. So what does the climate emergency have to do with waste recycling? Pretty much everything. Production capacity for ethylene and propylene, the critical feedstocks for plastic, is poised to grow by 33% or more in less than a decade, along with the accompanying climate pollutants. So in addition to the massive plastic pollution issues involved that we know about because of the turtle, this is also congruent with runaway climate disruption, period. There's no argument. So if we were to consciously design the worst possible system, it would be one where we cut down our own trees, we drill up our own oil, we mine up all our ore, we create products with them, we use them once or twice, send them on a big container ship emitting lots of toxic pollutants to China. China pulls them out, they have kids pulling them out, create new plastic crap, and send it back to us, sell it to us, and that seems to me to be the very definition of poor resource management. So luckily, China's national sword policy has become actually a huge opportunity for us to turn this around and get it right. We have the opportunity to create what Councilmember Koretz calls a world-class green sword policy that others will want to emulate. If we start with source reduction through redesign of products and packaging, then focus on repair and reuse of items and create jobs in those areas, and then last, for everything we can't design away, create incentives and develop local and regional recycling markets and use those materials in manufacturing plants right here in LA County instead of sending these materials away. And do it in a forward-thinking way where we're actively identifying the raw materials we'll need as we reinvent other essential industries locally in order to more effectively address the climate crisis. So to manufacture, for example, electric buses in Lancaster, and solar panels and heat pumps that will need to be mass-produced for clean energy and energy efficiency. We need to prioritize plucking those items, these materials from our waste stream, send them to create manufacturing facilities here in LA County and upcycle them, and then use them to create these products that we're going to need going forward. In the process, we create a hyperlocal circular economy that Rebecca touched on, that provides excellent opportunities for forward-thinking businesses, green jobs for anybody who wants or needs them, and the major economic benefits that go with all of it. So we live in the most creative, most influential city in the world, according to the Guardian newspaper. But what happens in LA doesn't stay in LA. The world's looking to California for climate leadership, and especially with the mayor who's the current chair of the C40 Climate Cities, we have a unique opportunity to deliver. And we really have the best minds on the planet here. So we want to make sure that we're keeping up with and driving the best practices from across the world. We keep hearing excuses why this or that policy can't be done, like the proposed requirement for bottles for sale in the city to be made from at least 75% recycled material, so that we're actively creating a recycled plastics marketplace. But the folks who say it can't be done keep being interrupted by the companies who are doing it, like Poland Spring Water, like Rebel, 100% post-recycled consumer waste, Dove, 100% recycled bottles. And those are just a few examples. Councilmember Koretz has also been pushing hard to get us to look at forward-thinking ways to recycle our food and organics waste due to the extreme climate emissions, methane dangers related, and to do it as fast as possible. Given the proximity of Ventura County and the Central Valley farming, there's a huge and profitable opportunity in that space. So I'm happy to say Sanitation is already engaged in a pilot project, taking our residential food waste to a facility in the Central Valley, turning it into compost. The farmers are using that compost to grow healthy, carbon sequestering soil, creating drawdown, which is what we really need in the climate space, actually sucking climate emissions out of the atmosphere. And that's really the goal of all these efforts. Think systemically and holistically, replace our bad habits with good ones, do it on a massive scale, do it really, really fast, and create climate emission drawdown wherever possible. So another huge opportunity that we're sort of missing right now is in textile recycling. LA has such a storied history in garment manufacturing. We should really be leading the way in this. We aren't yet, but it's coming, and those that get out ahead of it will have a huge advantage. We were going to have a presentation on the circular economy today, but I guess the gentleman from C40 couldn't make it. There are countless thought leaders with best practices on these issues. This is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and they're happy to provide resources and guidance on how to make this transition so we can continue to live within the limits of our planet. So basically, as a society, we need to change or we die. The climate impacts are not going away. They're getting worse every single year. I think we've noticed that the last few years. They just keep accelerating. So we live on a finite planet, and it's rapidly overheating, and we need to do everything possible to change our way of living. The business opportunities are tremendous, and somebody's going to crack each of these that we've talked about, like grid-level battery storage, and whoever does is going to make a killing. The entire planet needs us to succeed, and if we do, when we do, they are all ready to adopt the practices that we take up, and we're ready to adopt all the practices they take up. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. I appreciate Sanitation hosting us, and thank you all for being here.